Hello there. This is Linda Stacy of Living Blueprints, and tonight I'm on to talk about Chapter 9, the final chapter of Optimized You, which is all about chaos, and it's about taking advantage of chaos. A lot of us live in chaos a little bit too much of the time, in my opinion. I feel like much of my week was filled with little bouts of chaos, and I think it likely was for a lot of other people out there. But this time I'm talking about periods of major transition. So things that kind of go on for a while that aren't really the most awesome thing, but they could be wrapped in things that are awesome though. So I give several examples in the book. Some that are more awesome might be a new job or a new marriage or a new baby. Some that it might be a little less awesome or a little negative could be loss of job or a divorce or someone's sick. You're taking care of someone who's sick, or maybe you're sick. And these are kind of like new, very full things that you're adding on to your already pretty full schedule. And you know what's happening during these times is there's just too much new. Like everything you're doing feels like it's new, and then whenever there's a lot of new learning, there's a lot of stress and self-questioning and self-deprecation, and then you have to keep up doing all the things that you were doing before too. So this one really is more about, you know, what you're gaining as a result of this period, and also some tips for how you can maybe get through the period a little bit more easily. One of the tips for getting through the period more easily is really around visualizing, or you know, doing some kind of sitting down and saying, okay, what is the best way that this thing could actually happen if it hasn't quite happened yet? So, you know, when the baby comes, or after the merging of two households when you get married, or whatever these things are, you know, trying to kind of imagine the best case scenario along with the things that are definitely going to happen, you know, whether or not they're positive, and how you can be the most prepared for them. An example from my own life, when I moved in with my husband, Tom, you know, we were both in our mid-30s and had households. Like, I had a condo, he had a single family home full of like stuff, all the things that people have by that point in their lives. And I moved all of my stuff into his 1,400 square foot home, and it felt like for weeks it was just kind of in boxes in various places, and there really was no place to put anything. So there was this long period of trying to make space for things, decide what we were getting rid of, you know, a lot of conflict during this time too. It was really a tough transition, to be completely honest. It was not like, you know, stars and hearts and all of these things. It was really a huge challenge. I mean, I knew at my core that I loved this man and I wanted to be with him, but it was not easy. And things just went on and on for a very long time. And then slowly, you know, I began to, you know, put my mark on the house and make it a little bit more the way I wanted. And then when we went to move 6 years later, I decided I wanted that to be a different kind of experience. I mean, we were now merged. We were now going to be moving into more space, and that was all good, right? And but I definitely thought about it going differently, and we were definitely kind of balls to the walls for weeks, getting one house ready, getting ready to go into the other, moving things out of the first house. But the best thing I did for myself really was when I moved, after we made the move, and I was going to have a new commute, is I really thought about what is my good first day going to look like. And even when I was packing up the old house, I made sure that like 3 days of work clothes were ready to go, because no matter how well you attempt to plan for these things, you'll realize you don't have something you need. I mean, like, you know, like your socks or your shoes or something random will be packed in some place, and then you're kind of scrambling. So I gave a lot of thought to this. Like, I am not going to add extra chaos. If I give 10 minutes of thought to how I want my day to roll out the first day, I'm going to do it for myself. And my sister is about to start a new job, and she's going to start commuting again. She has not commuted for 15 years. So like 15 years ago, when Joey, my nephew, was a little baby, she started working from home pretty much full time. Now, she did travel 50%, but it's very different to to go to the airport than to be traveling back and forth in traffic in LA every day. So she's going to be returning to this after 15 years of not doing it. And so this is I've told her, you've got to give some thought to this. You need to make this be as smooth as possible, and you need to be prepared. You know, give it some thought, visualize the best case scenario for how that commute's going to go. It's probably not going to be all great, but maybe she'll watch the videos I did the last couple times, but this is going to be a major transition for her. And any new job is also a big transition. We just hired someone in at my workplace, and I told her when I was training her 6 to 8 months before you're going to really feel like, you know, you've got a groove. And I don't think she believed me. And now I think that she believes me. But I think that, you know, we can be great, you know, like let's have some grace towards ourselves. Let's be compassionate about the fact that these things aren't always easy, and that we can kind of, the learning periods are okay periods. There are times in our lives where we don't know the answers to everything, and we're figuring them out again. Another one I'll give, you know, my mom taking care of my very sick stepdad for too long, you know, and they were just going through a lot of trouble around the number of pills he was taking and how they all looked exactly the same, you know. So I was kind of working with her on ways to get that more organized, or can there be a system so that he can kind of mark what he's taken, and you can just have more ease around it. Like, try to create some ease for all these things that are just creating more chaos. Wherever you can, attempt to create ease. Take that 15 minutes or whatever to think of a new way of doing things to make things easier for yourself. Through it all, though, you're gaining muscle. You're gaining, you know, endurance. Hopefully for something really awesome down the line. I think of moms who work and have little kids and all that they are going through. And, you know, once those kids kind of get off to school, and then it's like you have a little bit of free time, it's like, oh my God. Sometimes just the contrast in these times in our lives is what allows us to fully appreciate everything, you know, for the good and the bad. We need contrast in order to really get it. Otherwise, life is pretty boring. So through it all, I would bet that the best times, the times of the greatest growth in your life, have been attached to times of tremendous struggle and maybe heartache, and, you know, things that just haven't felt very good. So it's all there in life for us, isn't it? I'd like for there to be a little less suffering for those of us, you know, when we can reduce it in our lives. So if you have anything coming up and you want to do a little bit more preparation to get better at it, I encourage you to do so. I'm looking here to see if I had any other things that I wanted to mention. I guess I'll mention again that if you haven't already and you're watching this on YouTube, I would love it if you subscribe to the channel so that I can get the URL, youtube.com/livingblueprints. And I will be back next week now talking about some probably new and interesting content. And I think I'll also talk a little bit about, you know, what I wrote in the intro and then in the outro of the book in terms of how execution tactics fit into a larger picture for designing a life on purpose, while recognizing what might get in your way or where you face resistance in your life. So have a fabulous weekend, and I hope it's been a good week. Probably chaotic for a lot of us, but we're building endurance. All right, I'll see you next time.